Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers lose the Nashville Predators. Final score 2-1, and add it to another game on a long list of just horrible performances. And we'll lay out the reasons as to why this did happen. Um, and all that said, it's just still inexcusable, and they were nearly shut out. I mean, they really should. In fact, when Nashville got the empty net goal to make it 2-0, I really would have preferred them to be shut out. It would have been their eighth shutout. It wasn't, so it's still at 7. Oh, I think the count now is what, about 14 games overall where they have 1 goal or less, and their record, it's if the Rangers score 2 goals, which is not that much, their record is like insanely good. So, like, the ball, it's not even a high, but I just all you gotta do is get 2 goals. Now, obviously, that's not sustainable, but, you know, too many times this team cannot score. It really generates nothing. I mean, Nashville outshot the Rangers 32-17, and what is the big thing, there's a lot of big, sort of things to talk about here, but Rangers are now 0-6-1 in the second of back-to-backs. Like, they've been very good in the first. Like I said, there's 6. Um What's their record? I think 5. I think it comes out to maybe 5-1-1, I think is the count, and 0-6-1 in the second. And the Rangers, like, I'm telling you, like, recent seasons, and maybe it stretches back a little bit further, but the Rangers were a good team, like, extremely good in the second game of back-to-backs, and it speaks to a lot of things. And when the Rangers aren't playing their best game, they're incapable of coming out of there with a win, and it speaks to, in that situation, it really speaks to a lack of talent, where a lot of the times it's not a recipe for success, but how many times could we think of the Rangers where they didn't play well, probably didn't deserve to win, but maybe got the good goaltending, had good special teams, and found a way to make a few plays and win a hockey game? This Ranger team, if they're not playing a smart game, if they're not doing the right things, they're near incapable of winning. And that's kind of a scary thing. There's not much margin for error. The Rangers have to play basically not a perfect game, but play their game just to have a chance to win. They don't always win those games, but I'll tell you what, when they don't have their A game, when they don't have their B game, it's just not going to happen for them. So again, goal scoring problems continue in a major way. But even here, don't be fooled. Even though Nashville only scored one non-empty net goal, I mean, Jonathan Quick really prevented this from being worse. He really has not gotten any goal support. It's kind of crazy. I actually want to check it right now. As far as Jonathan Quick and what his record is as compared to his numbers, Jonathan Quick on the season in 9 starts, he's 3-5-1 with a 937 save percentage and a 1.79 goals against. That's crazy. I mean, those are fantastic numbers. He's been so good, and yet that's what it is. He's 3-5-1. So yeah, like I said, like, here's where I've left out so far. Here is the excuse. And again, like, I don't want it to be a big thing, but look, um, and look, for me, it's more about being critical than anything. But JT Miller, it turns out that now nothing's official yet, but it seems like he's going to be out for a few weeks. Like, it doesn't seem like it feels like he won't be out as long as Fox was. I think he's dealing probably with a separated shoulder. I kind of see it as more of a week to week situation than a day to day situation. To me, the most optimistic timeline would be maybe he just makes his way back for the Winter Classic. But to me, I would think it'll be a little bit longer than that. But so it's not. Yeah, it's certainly not like the 6 to 8 week variety. It doesn't even seem like it might be the 4 to 6 week variety. It seems like it's going to be, to me, if I had to guess, maybe 2 to 3 weeks. It feels like, but again, that's just me guessing. But Miller was out, as we know. But what's also happening is the Rangers are dealing with the flu. Now, we saw Panarin miss a game against St. Louis, but the flu's going to the Rangers. And I think some of the players that were in the lineup probably were dealing with it, but the 2 worst cases, Gabe Burrow and Matt Rempe, were not in the lineup. And so here's what that leads to. First off, like, now in the case of Rempe, as I had been saying, like, there was a world where maybe he made sense to healthy scratch, but he probably wouldn't have been. Like, he still probably would have been in the lineup, all things being, equal, and especially with JT Miller out due to injury. But now the Rangers had to go with 11 forwards and 7 defensemen. Like, there was no, that's all they literally had everyone in the lineup who was healthy enough to play. Um, and so, that in and of itself is not ideal. As far as, really, it was a shorthanded Ranger lineup. But overcome adversity, overcome it. I mean, Nashville, they played last night as well. I understand that it was less travel. I understand Nashville's roster situation was better, but hell, the Predators, they had nothing that mattered. They had their backup goalie, Ananen, who, you know, is legitimately worse than Saros, in terms of just career wise, this season wise. Like, Saros has been playing pretty well lately, from what it seems. And Ananen, not so much. And the Rangers did well against Ananen at Madison Square Garden on November 10th in a 6-3 win. But that was one of the easiest games that Ananen probably has ever played in the NHL. He was not tested. Um, so as far as the seventh defenseman went, let's just jump right into some ice time and line combinations and deep pairs and things like that. I mean, what's pretty sad is like Vakanainen is really horrible. I don't want to make this about him. He's a very sort of not important factor in the grand scheme of it all. He played less than 4 minutes. He played like almost 4 minutes, 5 shifts, and I think most of it was in the first period. And he looked bad. Like when he was in there, it's like okay, yeah, it doesn't make sense to. Like, so yes, he barely played as the seventh defenseman. Yeah, he is. When Fox comes back, I would guess that what happens is Morrow gets sent down and Vakanainen just remains as the seventh defenseman. It's you can live with it, but man, like he really, not that he was that great last year, but he looks so much worse. I mean, again, another sort of failed, it wasn't that big a deal, but it was sort of a failed 2-year contract extension anyway by the great Chris Drury. But yeah, this was a game where Gavrikov plays a lot. I mean, Gavrikov even played on the number one power play unit at the end. They finally did do that. It wasn't successful, and the problem that I have with that is not that Gavrikov, you could argue, and it's sad, but without Fox, you could argue that Gavrikov may be the most sensible, logical number one power play unit guy. The issue I have is he logs so many minutes as it is. Even like honestly, I think you're wasting your time. Like lately, he's been on the second unit. It's almost a waste. It's almost a waste. Gavrikov is so valuable and plays so much that I would just like Adam Fox smartly wasn't playing on the penalty kill. Same thing with Gavrikov. It's I think you almost have to go in a different direction. That all said, I understand the desperation. So yeah, he played a lot. Look, of course, like Gavrikov and Schneider have logged a lot of minutes. Um, Matthew Robertson didn't play a crazy amount, and he actually was a culprit on the big, really the goal of the game that Nashville did, the one goal that happened. Robertson, I'd say, was the main culprit. We'll talk about that, but Robertson was the main culprit. Again, I like what he's done generally, but it's not, it comes, it's a little streaky, I guess. But anyway, yeah, not a whole lot to talk on the defensive side. The one thing I guess I'll say, you're not getting a whole lot of offense with no Fox. Like there was a time when they were chipping in a little bit, but you look at this group overall, it's not the best. I think Scott Morrow ideally would be better served playing in Hartford, and I think when Fox comes back, that's what they'll do. Let him get loads of ice time and hope that he's better for it. The forwards is really where you see things more affected, obviously. Again, that's where the injuries and illnesses come from. And they stick with Panarin, Zibanejad, Lafreniere. Um, Originally, they started as it being Sherry, Trocheck, and Cooley, but I think what happened was they switched Radish and Sherry. So originally, the third line was Laba centering Othman and Radish, but then, like I said, they made that switch, and the fourth line was basically Carrick and Bradzinski with a random person rotating in. So when I look at the ice times, to me, what stands out is just it's a shit ton. And like, look, special teams plays a little bit of a role here. Rangers had 3 power plays, just that much, but a lot of Panarin, a lot of Trocheck, a lot of Zibanejad. I mean, a lot. Like they played. That's really the most significant thing. And look, simply put, they didn't come through. They did. And Les Lafreniere almost played 20 minutes. That can't happen. Like I know it's because you don't have options, but that's a sad state of affairs when Lafreniere, who really doesn't give you anything, is playing that amount of minutes. What also kind of stands out is Radish. I feel like and remember, Brodzinski and Radish were out. Like they were the ones that came into the lineup. Radish played a lot in this game. Where he really messed up was there was one 2-on-1 opportunity. In case I miss it, in the first period between Radish and Othman. Othman almost had his first initial goal. Just a really bad pass by Radish. Tried to make a move around a defenseman and go pass from right to left, and it just really never came close to Othman. But Radish played over 14 minutes, which is a lot more than he's been playing recently. Um, Other than that, again, Cooley 18, things that I'm not surprised about, but isn't going to be effective. I mean, Cooley played a lot. Um, so yeah, it's I'm not going to get too much into individual stuff here because really it's just a total joke all the way around. Really is. And Mike Sullivan was as mad as I've seen him after the game. And I'm happy about that because this would have been an easy one to say, hey, not that he would make excuses, but like with the flu kind of running through the team and kind of just it was pretty unideal circumstances. I'm not gonna deny that, but yeah, like they were pissed after the game, and they should be because it's just par for the course stuff with the second of the back to backs. I mean, this team cannot execute a crisp tape to tape pass. It's really bad. Like just the simple things that they cannot do. It's frustrating to watch. They really don't have any offensive juice. And it's beyond that as well. It's not just that too. Like they weren't good in any facet of the game in this one. They were lucky to only have allowed one goal besides the empty net goal. But anyway, Rangers got off like I'm talking first 5 minutes. Rangers were okay at the very, very beginning, but then very quickly after that, Nashville took over. Nashville, for at least three quarters of that period, was by far the better team. And the Rangers somehow survived it scoreless. And again, thank Quick for that. Thank a couple of, again, there was some posts hit along the way by Nashville. Rangers had some few intermittent chances here and there, but nothing sustained. At 12:11, Will Borgen was called for interference on Michael Bunting. Rangers did kill it off. There was a scary moment where the skate of, I believe, Scott Morrow got the Predator player. It was a forward. It was Reed Schaefer. It's pretty scary, but he ended up being, I think he returned. He was all right, but yeah, like that was not a great scene. Lucky it wasn't worse. And yeah, the Rangers come out of the first period, scoreless. But this was such a similar feel to other games. I go back to the Chicago game, and I feel like you kind of felt like if the Rangers allowed the first goal, they were fucked. Like if they got the first goal, they had a chance. They may have still lost, but they had a chance. And maybe you go into just full on sort of clogging the neutral zone up, and maybe going into pure defense mode and hanging on. Again, I don't subscribe to it, but based on this roster, you may have had to, but they didn't even have that opportunity because they were the one that trailed. And it happens at 10:44. Philip Forsberg gets a 16th goal of the season from O'Reilly and Willsby. And it was a situation where you had Carrick, Bradzinski, and Othman on with Robertson and Borgen. And to me, Robertson kind of messes up here. Now, there may be some other blame. And the reason why I'm dissecting this goal is because it was really, again, it was the goal of the game. Robertson messes up really at the neutral zone. He's unable to kind of stop the rim around pass by Nashville. And then he's somewhat out of position, and he couldn't intercept the pass between, I believe, O'Reilly and Forsberg. So, it's easy to blame Othman, but like this really wasn't his fault at all. It's really Robertson that needed to be able to stop that play after, again, he kind of was out of position, messed up the neutral zone. So there's your goal. Nice shot by Forsberg, scores past Quick, makes it 1-0. That's all they needed. At 14:47, Cole Smith cross-checks Vincent and Trocheck. A little bit before that, there was a play that the Rangers could have had a non-man rush. I'm sure they wouldn't have scored on it, but the officials incorrectly blew a play dead that, I think the horn went off. Nashville, it went off the posts on a Nashville opportunity, but I guess some thought that it went in. It clearly didn't, but it may have prevented a Ranger opportunity. Again, I don't think they would have scored from it. It was like a 3-on-2. But at 14:47, Cole Smith cross-checks Vincent Trocheck. Trocheck had a lot of strong words after the game, but look, he's part of the problem. Like, to be fair, like, he is part of the issue. And he was saying, it's fucking dead as far as, you need to play with pride and, like that it looks dead. And, he said it's fucking dead. So again, like, I appreciate the passion. I appreciate the no sort of, making excuses and like everything will be okay. And this happens, again, but still, like, take action and make it better. Ranger power play looked really bad. Didn't get really any chances. Then 8-08, it's the typical Panarin penalties. Hooking Roman Josi. You can't do that. And the Rangers didn't give him a goal from it. They killed it off, but That's the type of shit that's frustrating. And I think because I think he was talking about Panarin. There was one thing, Sullivan kind of was talking about. I think it was alluding to Panarin in terms of I think he was upset about that penalty, and as he should be. Like that he's done it before, and with the Ranger games are typically going to be close and low scoring. They have to play a style that you're not making mistakes like that. And again, the Rangers kill it off, but we go to the third period, and it's where the Rangers third period. Look, the Rangers second period was horrible. They were being outshot 26-10 going in the third, and that just can't happen against a national team. This is a team that bleed. They give up a lot of goals. That's the thing. The Rangers have not scored against teams that give up, even teams that were successful, like Anaheim, for example. Like they've been playing well, but it's more via just goal scoring, not because they're a stingy defensive team. Nashville, while they've been better lately, I'll give them that. Nashville is a team that is, and look, obviously, Roman Yossi is back. That's a big help. Don't get me wrong. Like their defense definitely looks a little bit better, but man, it's not that good. Shouldn't be happening. I mean, there's no. I'm sorry. Like the shorthanded situation, it shouldn't be this bad. It shouldn't be this inept. And where it becomes a further problem is the power play. They get two chances in the third. 5:53, McCarron high sticks Othman, and they don't score. And again, like the opportunities weren't there. And eventually, what happens? Originally, Morrow was on the first two power plays, and I think originally Cooley was on the first one. I think and then for the third period power plays, it was Lafreniere. Again, pick your poison is how I kind of see it because Will Cooley, as much as it makes sense for him as a net front option, like he has no puck skills. I'm sorry. Sometimes he's decent at getting those deflections every now and then, but just as far as handling the puck, look, I think Will Cooley is someone that Ranger fans like. I like him myself. I think he hasn't had a great. Again, he flies a little under the radar. He hasn't had a great season. Hasn't been as bad as some others, but you know, Lafreniere is worse. But you know, really at that point, it's pick your poison for that spot on the power play on the first unit. But they don't score on that one. Rangers don't get a whole lot going in general, but they still stay down one somehow, some way. And Quick's making great saves. It was a breakaway save that he made, and the Rangers get their one golden opportunity. 4 minutes left. Philip Forsberg's called for delay of game. And for that power play, they went with Gavrikov. It was, and they kept it 5-on-4 for that one. They didn't go. It never got to 6-on-4. And yeah, I can't recall really any good chances there. Just terrible all the way around. That's the thing, right? You could call, it's one thing to just not be lifeless on 5-on-5, but then like the power play, you have that man advantage. I mean, look, I'm not surprised. I mean, they've been really bad since Fox has been out, but just they can't get that goal. And then eventually, at 19:12, Stamkos gets his 14th goal of the season from Smith and O'Reilly. And, basically Trocheck is unable, Trocheck turns it over. Lafreniere tries to get in there. And then from, about the neutral zone, Stamkos scores. So again, Trocheck talks about, things are fucking dead or whatever it was. But again, what are you doing exactly? So 2-0 Nashville. Then the Rangers just get, of course, right after that, 11 seconds later, it's Johnny Brodzinski scoring his third goal of the season from Taylor Radish. And you know what? Johnny Brodzinski probably deserves to be, it's sad to say, and I'm not saying Johnny Brodzinski is good. And I also understand if you want to play young players, I'm totally for that. But if you don't, and you're just trying to put out your best lineup, sadly, Brodzinski really, I think he should be in the lineup almost all the time. Again, like I'm not saying that his role should be much. He really should be more of a 13th forward, but yeah, I feel like he makes an impact out there, even though he doesn't play all the time. But he scores, kind of a goal that develops pretty quickly. Radish keeps the puck in the zone. He's able to kind of get it towards Brodzinski. He takes a shot and he gets his own rebound past Annan and makes it 2-1. And then you want to talk about something real pathetic? After that, the Rangers weren't even able to, they lose the faceoff off of that with 37 seconds left. And the Rangers were never even able to pull their goalie because they never were able to get it out of their zone. They were dead. They really were gassed. It's bad. Like, again, I really think it's a combination of like, they have no talent. But again, second to back-to-backs, I know they don't score in general, but you look at the individual games, they're not even giving up that many goals. Again, it's a theme of the overall. I get that it's a general theme, but really to the extreme. they can't score in these second to back-to-backs. It's a problem. And I wonder, like, in terms of conditioning, like, I think it's talent is the biggest problem, but it's a concern. It's the thing. Like, the sample size is too high. It's 0-6-1. And again, like, this team has won one regulation game in their last 12 games. One regulation game in 12 games. It says all you need to know. Look, like, they'll give you some valiant, gritty efforts, right? But then they'll throw in a really bad stinker. So as much as I want to say, hey, like, look, last year they just let things get away from them. This year maybe they're not talented at all, but like they'll give you an earnest, solid effort. But then I can't say that with confidence because so many times they'll throw in just it's one thing to have to score, but when they were losing early in the season, I was like, wow, like they're really outplaying teams. It's just not going in. So many times lately, it's just this bullshit against Nashville. I mean, again, that's the thing. As much as, oh, maybe the Rangers will steal some wins against good teams, you can't trust them to beat the lesser teams because the Rangers are one of the lesser teams. So anyway, one more game before the holiday break, and that'll be at Washington. And I don't feel good about that game in the sense that Washington's coming off of losing um, a home and home with Detroit. So they are coming in on a 2-game losing streak. Now, they did get a point in the last game, but the point is, like, I think this is going to be a difficult matchup for the Rangers. Now, I think the Rangers will come out with a more spirited effort. I'll give them that. I think that they will. But look, at the Garden on October 12th, the Rangers played pretty well. Charlie Lindgren was great. Rangers lost 1-0. Goal scoring, I think, is going to be hard. Washington's a pretty stingy team on the defensive side. This one's going to be difficult. And it's a quick with Washington. December 23rd at Washington, New Year's Eve, December 31st at Washington. So they basically have 2 games it's weird scheduling. 2 games at Washington in very short order, just over a week of time. So get used to them. And, Rangers are 18-16-4. Like, they're just hanging around. And that's what makes this whole thing frustrating is it's very much, it's mediocrity, but it's not bad enough to totally blow the whole thing up right now or, as far as just like lottery draft positioning. It's in a very frustrating position to me. And I think we know what this is headed. I think it's going to go south. I don't think it gets better, but the way that they are, again, they're going to throw wins in there. It's bound to be, but yeah, they're not very good. And add this to the list of another brutal, ugly, anemic performance against Nashville. Again, 0-6-1 is what really stands out to me in the second of back-to-backs. That's a big thing. Obviously we talk about all the shutouts. We talk about the 1-goal games. It's horrible. But yeah, you got to be better. And so, yeah, we'll see. Hopefully Adam Fox will come back soon. He's skating, individually, non-contact, of course. And, they could really use him coming back because, they are just really, really lacking in the way of, creativity and, again, just making a simple pass. But again, Rangers follow up their, nice comeback win against the Flyers with a 2-1 loss to the Nashville Predators. And now they will go to Washington to take on the Capitals in their last game before the Christmas break.